to the number of people who eat of it. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a year-old male. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. You shall keep it until the 14th day of this month. Then the whole assembled congregation of Israel shall slaughter it at twilight. They shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they eat it. They shall eat the lamb that same night. They shall eat it roasted over the fire with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not eat any of it raw or boiled in water, but roast it over the fire with everything still intact. You shall let none of it remain until the morning. Anything that remains until the morning you shall burn. This is how you shall eat it: your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And you shall eat it hurriedly. It is the Passover of the Lord. For I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and I will strike down every firstborn in the land of Egypt, both human beings and animals. On all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am the Lord. The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you live. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague shall destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. This day shall be a day of remembrance for you. You shall celebrate it as a festival to the Lord throughout your generations. You shall observe it as a perpetual ordinance. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses, for whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day shall be cut off from Israel. On the first day you shall hold a solemn assembly, and on the 7th day a solemn assembly. No work shall be done on those days, only what everyone must eat, that alone may be prepared by you. You shall observe the festival of unleavened bread, for on this very day I brought your companies out of the land of Egypt. You shall observe this day throughout your generations as a perpetual ordinance. Let us pray. Dear God, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of all of our hearts be acceptable to you, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Now, I have to say, when I planned all this, because I will admit my Hebrew is abysmal, it always was. And so, of course, this is the day Dave Endress shows up. So I'm like, oh, great. Someone else in the room who actually knows Hebrew and knows when I botch it, because I'm probably going to. But I was always much better in Greek. So mathematical precision, yes. Hebrew was too wispy for me. Not enough rules. Drove me crazy. Okay, so this passage, why in the world am I reading this one? This whole idea of the Passover lamb. Of course, we hear bits of it, especially when we get to Matthew. We're going to hear lots of references to Jesus being the Passover lamb. But also when we get to anytime we celebrate communion, that's what Jesus and the 12 were celebrating, was the Passover. This is what they were doing. So this meal and this whole event is the pivotal event for the Hebrew people. This is the event. Yeah, the other plagues, those were great. But this is it. This is the night when you are finally going to escape, when you are finally going to be free. And it's this heavily liturgical, very well laid out plan, all the exact things you must do. I wrote a list of all the things that everyone has to do. You have to begin your preparations on the 10th day of the month. The head of each household has to select a lamb or a kid. The word is, it could be either. We don't usually put kid because when we say kid, we mean small child, human, not usually goat. So we tend to say lamb. You select it according to the number of people present, share with the neighbors if you need to. Has to be a year-old male, no defects. You have to kill all the animals the night of the 14th. You have to put all the blood on the door frames of the houses. Each family eats the roasted lamb with bitter herbs and unleavened bread. There must be no leavening in your house, no yeast anywhere. The meat has to be roasted whole. That means intact. That means you're not cleaning anything out before you throw it on there. I'm assuming the wool's still on the outside, and we all know how lovely burnt wool smells. And then add all that in. I'm like, that doesn't really sound very appetizing to me, but okay. Throw the whole thing on there. Now, my husband, being the good cook that he is, he said, actually boiling it would be quicker. than roasting it whole. So I'm like, you're right, it would be. But the point is to not dirty anything, to just put it on the fire because you're camping and then you're moving. All the leftovers are to be burnt. You don't leave anything. If anything got left over, which I'm thinking when you're roasting it whole, there's going to be some stuff left over. And you have to eat it with haste and expectancy. It says, have your robes tucked into your belt, which is when you had the long robes, you would tuck it up almost to make like pants out of it and tuck it in your belt. Have your sandals on, have your staff in your hand. Be ready to go. Now, there's no priests doing any of this. This is all the people. Moses is telling the elders, who then have to tell all the people, so every single household has to do all of this themselves. There's no priests, checking to make sure you're doing this right. You have to do it yourself. This is kind of, it's the epitome of the priesthood of all believers. No, this is the moment where every single person is following the exact rules that God is setting out. And this is the only time this happens while they're still in Egypt. All the other rules come later, after they've left. But this moment is set aside because it's so important. Because it says in here repeatedly, this is an ordinance, you're going to do this. You need to remember this and do this and teach it to the children. You need to remember what happened this night. And that's the importance of a ritual, is that you have to do it again and again and again. Now, the difference between a habit and a ritual. A habit is something you do on autopilot. You just do it. You don't really think about it. That's just how you do something. But a ritual should be a moment when you slow down a little bit and think a little bit, because it's supposed to be something important. It's supposed to be something that's got a heavier meaning to it. So when we get to the important things in life, we usually refer to them as rituals. Things like weddings are a ritual. Funerals are often a ritual. There is a ritual involved. There's a book. I have the book. It's got the steps and the prayers and the order we do it in. Worship is a ritual. There's an order. Communion is a ritual. Baptism, a ritual. But we have our own rituals, not just in church. We have plenty of them. When I was a kid, my grandmother had one. My mom's mother, the Scandinavian grandma. Okay. She, being very Scandinavian and very light complected, very light colored hair, this is really funny, never had to shave her legs ever. The woman had no leg hair. But twice a year, she would make a ritual of coming out with an electric razor and making a big deal out of this. We all had to watch because Grandma was going to shave her legs. And it was hysterical because she was usually so uptight and would never do anything like that in front of anyone, but it got to be a joke. It was the family joke. And we would mark it on the calendar. Grandma's going to do it this Saturday. I swear, we'd go over for lunch to watch this because it was so funny, because she made such a big deal out of it. Even when she was like in her 70s and she would still do this. And we're like, what are you doing? And it was so funny because it was so unlike her. But it was a ritual that our family partook in for years and years. And it was so dumb. But it was really funny. And it was one of the few really funny things I can think of that my grandmother did, because she wasn't usually a funny, lighthearted kind of person. And think of all the other rituals we do. I have one now. Okay, do I have my keys? Do I have my phone? Did I make sure that I grabbed this? Before we went to our family reunion, it's early in the morning. I have all my adult children in the house. He's wandering around. The dogs are going nuts because we're getting ready to leave. And everybody's talking to me, and I'm like, everybody stop. Just quiet. I need a minute. And I start going, okay, I grabbed this, and I put that in the cooler, and I have this, and I have that, and I got my keys, and my phone's in my pocket, and okay, and I remembered this, and I have all the medication. And I have to go through the list to make sure, the ritual, making sure I have absolutely everything. And then when I get in my car now, because it has Bluetooth, the car started, so I obviously have my keys, and CarPlay came on, so I have my phone. That's how I know that it's all with me. I have to have the ritual. I have to have it. Because if I don't, then invariably I've forgotten something. And we get down the road and I go, I don't have it, we gotta go back. We all have rituals. We all have moments where we stop and go, okay. My dad's was always making cabbage rolls. This was a ritual. There was a way to do this. You had to do it just a certain way. You had to trim everything just right. You had to do everything just so. It had to be stacked a certain way because that's the way his grandmother did it. You had to do it just this way. That old story we always tell about the family where everybody always cut the end off the roast and nobody could figure out why. It's because great-grandma's pan was too short and she did it, and so then everybody did it for generations. Yes, we all have those in our lives. And they're important because in some respect they kind of define who we are and where we are and what we're about. And so for the Hebrew people, this is their defining ritual. And I found the other day, these are called Haggadahs, Passover. And it says an ancient story from modern times, and I loved this one. Absolutely loved it when I saw it. Yes, it has color pictures, but part of the reason I liked it is frequently these will have the Hebrew and all the steps and what you're supposed to say and the prayers you're supposed to say. But this one actually has it transliterated, so